I am so excited. I'm so excited about tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Those of you who are streaming on YouTube and those of you who are joining us on Facebook, thank you so much. I'm telling you, what an exciting time. Love is in the air. Or is it? I don't know, but we're going to find out because I've been waiting so long to talk to this incredible, very, very professional. Listen, he knows what he's talking about. He's been through some stuff, but not just that. God has used him to bring healing, to give advice, to give understanding about love. That's right. His name is Regi Rodgers. That's right. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him before I bring him to the platform. I'm going to tell you about him. It's so much to say. I am not going to read his whole bio because it looks like it's a book, but he's been on Tamron Hall show. He's done the iHeartRadio, Art Chat Daddy Sims. He's done Encore. He's been on Encore magazine in Vegas. Listen, I can't tell you everything about him. TCT Network. He's been doing so much. He's a radio host. Yes, he is. He happens to be on the radio platform that I am on Sundays. It's 87.9 Heat FM. Oh, and I forgot to send a message to our CEO. I don't know if you did, but I think we need to because he'll have a fit if we do not let him know that we're on. So listen, guys, Regi Rodgers, relationship coach, not just for singles, but for women and for those who need advice and those who are struggling in this game. Listen, for years, he's been counseling countless couples. He's been having conversations, just doing so many things. And I don't really want to say much more because I want you to meet him for yourself. I want you to be able to just embrace everything. Tonight, we're going to get into it. I'm telling you, for those of you who've just tuned in, this is Bravo with Sheila. This is a platform designed for women to empower, to build up, to push you, to mold you, to shape you, to push you. Let me tell you, to move you from pain to power and from power to victory. That's right. This platform allows you to have words that you can't say anywhere else, even things the church don't want to talk about. Sometimes that's the problem. We need a platform and a place where we can just be authentic, be real, and be honest with ourselves so that we can grow within ourselves and move forward in our hearts and our minds and our souls. So take that right hand, that left hand, place it on your heart, your mind, your soul, and give yourself a bravo. Just because, and you do not need permission. I said you don't need permission. And so I'm excited. We're going to get into it. I'm going to bring my guest to the platform, and then we're going to get into everything. Him and I have already talked backstage about some of the things we're going to talk about. Those of you, I want you to jump into the chat. This is called Bravo with Sheila. Ladies, let's chat. So there's a chat, right? There you go. Get into the chat. Ask questions. This is not an interview. This is a conversation. And here's my guest. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, bravo to you, Sheila. This is awesome. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so excited to be with you and to share this platform with you. I'm looking forward to this dialogue. I think it's going to be what I call a delightful dialogue and a delicious dialogue.
Ooh, I like that. Delicious, delightful is awesome. I like those words. I like that. Delightful and delicious. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. So hello, Facebook. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone on YouTube. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for being here. Again, we don't hold back on this channel. Those of you that know me, that's been here with me before, you got to get your cool beverage. This is lemonade tonight. This is lemonade tonight. Sugarless lemonade to be exact. But if those of you have your cocktails, do your thing. This is the no judgment zone. No judgment zone. So I'm so excited. So we're going to do this short intro. Stay right there, my friend. Hey, we're back. back.
I love the intro. I love it.
Oh, bravo. Bravo to all of you out there. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome, 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 Reggie. Do I call you C Reggie or do I call you Reggie?
Reggie is fine. Reggie's fine. But
Re-
whatever you're comfortable with, I'm on your show tonight. It's your platform, so I am gonna flow with you.
I might call you Sir C or Sir Reggie. I'm
I'm
excited.
gonna flow with you. Whichever way you call me, I will respond.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. Oh my goodness, I have someone here. Oh, I like that. That's Kathy. She's here on this platform, Reggie, when we're chatting, those that are in the chat, right? Because it is a chat and not an interview. People are saying things in the chat. I'll put it up on the screen. If they have questions, I'll put it up on the screen, right? Because it's educational as well as empowering on this show. But I know you know all about that because you've been around the block a trillion times doing this TV stuff and hosting and everything. So I'm a new kid on the block in these YouTube streets. I only been out here around maybe 4.5 months now on
But
this
you know
side.
what? Listen, Sheila. If you don't tell anybody you knew, nobody won't know. So if you had not said that, I would have known. You look like you're doing your thing to me.
Having fun with it. On
That's
the other block around the corner, people can see the singer Sheila, but this is a whole new lane over here. And it's rough out here in these YouTube streets, I tell you. But I'm excited about it. So listen, Reggie, I just want you just share a little bit about where you're from, where you were raised, a little bit about your background. Let's get the people a little familiar because people will see this after the fact. We have 6 people or 7 people that I see that are on right now. They're not in the chat yet. Those of you that are new to the platform, if you know about YouTube, you got to hit that thumbs up. Come on, give me a thumbs up, hit the like button. So tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to dive into your expertise.
Well, I'm originally from Philadelphia. I reside in Las Vegas right now. Las Vegas is known as Sin City, but I'm originally from the city of brotherly love. And if you're from there, it's the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. So I left Philadelphia back in 2001 and moved to Las Vegas. That year, been here ever since. My background, if you would, I graduated with a mortuary science background, but then I started studying philosophy. So I'm a science major.
Wow, you're smart.
I don't know about that. I'm inquisitive. How about that?
Okay.
Inquisitive. Definitely inquisitive. But
Okay.
one of the things that I've always been intrigued was the mind. I've always been intrigued with the process of how the mind processes. And so the process of the thought process and patterns of the mind, how the rhythm flows through the mind. There's a natural rhythm. So when I went through a divorce, what got me into relationship coaching is when I went through a divorce, I asked myself 3 questions. That was back in 2010. I had asked myself 3 questions. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And what won't I do moving forward? So I journaled. I just kept journaling. What did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? What won't I do moving forward? I just kept journaling. And for me, I was going to max out. So I didn't want to rush my answers. I wanted to max out till I got to a place where I've maxed out of every response that I could possibly give for each question. And then as I started to look into that, I said, I'm going to read everything on dating and relationships because I want to understand the psychoses of the mind, how women think. Again, it was that process, that thought pattern, that thought process. How do they develop what they think? What draws them to the conclusion of when they're thinking and how they're thinking? And then how do they get to that place of getting to that point of that's what separates the thought process from a woman to a man. So I started reading everything on relationships. It was that neurological, I wanted to understand. So I started reading everything on dating and relationships. And when I started reading everything that was on the market as it related to dating and relationships, I discovered that women typically empower women. But
Mm.
women were not getting it from a conscious, I think that's a conscious male's perspective. So then I said, okay, I'm going to start this journey. I want to be the voice to empower women, because women typically ask two questions or they make two statements. He doesn't talk to me, and he never tells me what's going on in his head and in his heart.
Wow. Wow.
So I wanted to kind of share with women that they could get it from a conscious male's perspective on what is really going on in a man's head and in a man's heart, so that that conversation could be had, so that they could create that dialogue could be created.
That's powerful. Wow. That is so powerful. And I'm sitting here listening to what triggered you to get into the experience of figuring these things out. And it was your own era. It was your own, not just me, because, two people in a marriage is even Kevin, right? Even Stephen. But what triggered you to really figure out these things was your own self. Like you put I always say, when you change, everything around you changes. I
Yeah.
always say, when nothing changes, nothing changes, right? But when you point the finger here and not here, then you change. Everything has to shift around you. And for you to have that perspective and to really focus on that, that's why I would say I got a relationship guru coming on tonight. And I didn't say it just for fluff. I said it because of experience, because it's your heartbeat. It's what you do every day. It's what God has called you to do. Besides, I mean, you used to be a pastor. Once you're a pastor, you're a pastor. You may not be flowing in that hat right now, but you are, in a sense, because pastors are shepherds, right? Pastors have mercy gifts. And so even though we may not have the flowing as far as the church building itself, you have the love of God in your heart. So Regi, please, let me put this comment up.
Please
Antoinette,
tell me.
please tell me, like they're listening, like tell them the information. When before off camera, we talk about this and Kathy says, oh, she says, oh, I like that. Right. So what you're saying is touching the hearts of those that are even on right now as we
Well,
speak.
Kathy, we are just getting started. So don't worry, Kathy. Listen, go get some popcorn. Be patient, because this is going to get good, Kathy. We just getting started.
Yeah, we're going to touch on a lot of stuff. And I already told him, I said, there's no way to get all of this out of him in one sitting. So I'm going to get him to commit to me for a little bit more time. Maybe once a month, twice a month, whatever. Help the women, right? Because we need a male's perspective. We need help. We need help, not just those that are single, those that are married. People think that, oh, I don't need anything from a relationship coach or anything because I'm married. Wrong, beep, wrong answer, right? Because even in the marriage, there's struggle. You get married, all the fluff, down the road, things start shifting. You find out, I don't even know this person. Who is this person?
I think one of the things that we've learned over the last 2 years, and particularly married couples, is because of this pandemic. This pandemic showed us whether or not we had a problem, we had a project, or we had a partner.
Oh, say that again. Say it again.
Those who, who have been married, or those who live together, those who have spent an amount of time together that they otherwise would not have spent together, you discovered whether you had a project, a problem, or a partner.
Antoinette says, because that's good.
And I think the older we become, Sheila, the older we become, in particular, me, I'm not looking for a project. I have enough projects. I'm really looking for a partner. But that partner piece it all starts with you. You said something about you, pointing the finger at yourself, looking at, doing an introspection of self. To thine own self be true. Once you understand what it means to be true to yourself, that means you have done the work that is required of yourself. Most people go into a relationship without doing the work. There's work that has to be done in order for a relationship to flourish and in order for a relationship to flow. There's a word that we use when we go to the bathroom. If there's no flow, is a word that we use called constipation. Constipation simply means that there is a block of the flow,
You
or
better,
something that's blocking the flow.
wow.
So we have to discover why are relationships constipated?
Jesus.
What's blocking the flow? And so when there is no flow, the relationship can't go. So we have to go back. We have to do the work that's required in order for the relationship to go. And
Mm,
if the relationship can't go, then it can't grow.
right.
Because as we go, that's when we grow.
Grow.
So a lot of relationships are what we call stuck at a standstill, and they're wondering why it can't grow, and then they're wondering why it can't go, because there's something that has created a constipation. It's
Stoppage.
constipated. It's something
Yes.
is blocking it. So
Yes.
let's go do the work. Let's find out what the work is. Even something can be constipated in regards to, why do you keep picking the same type of man, just dressed differently? You
Ooh,
keep picking the same man every time, but it's dressed differently, but it's the same type of man. Something's
Jesus.
blocking your flow. We got to go back and we need to do the work. So
Mm,
doing the work is, okay, let me sit down and let me figure out, what is my deal makers? What are my deal breakers? What are my absolute non-negotiables? But
mm.
that's a little bit too hard for some people. So what happens is they take that Tarzan syndrome, and that Tarzan syndrome simply means they just go from branch to branch, break up from one
Oh
relationship,
my
and they
God.
swing from branch to branch.
Oh,
They're going through the jungle,
ooh,
just swinging
Jesus.
from branch to branch with that Tarzan syndrome, without taking the time to really say, okay, let's wait.
My God.
Let's stop. Let's drop. Let's shut it down before we reopen up shop.
My God. Like, wait, stop, pause. Wait, stop, pause. Relate, release, relate. Stop, pause. The women in the chat are going crazy right now. Antoinette Saunders, I don't know if you see what I've been putting up, what she's been saying. She says, uh, exactly me, that's me. She says, this one here touched me, that she said, I have had nothing but projects and problems.
Okay, now,
This is a
Anto-
beautiful sister.
Antoinette, if you've had nothing but projects and problems, I don't know you, but that simply means your heart is enormous. And so
Mm.
what you want to do is, you want to take situations and fix situations and make situations better. When you should, by now you should discover that you can want a situation to be better, but if that other person on the receiving end doesn't want to be better, it doesn't matter how much you want the situation to be better, because you want to make the situation better for them. But how about they don't want to make the situation better for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So all you're doing is redressing the problem. But the problem hasn't been dealt with. It just got different clothes on it, because you're redressing the problem that is a project.
Ooh.
Now we have to move from creating what you have done, which is created a bigger project, which now turns into a different problem. So you're not going to never get to the partner, because you're too busy doing the work
Oh my
that's
God.
required for the project that keeps creating the problem.
Mm. Listen.
So we have to slow down, create another rhythm, and then get on what I call a different vibratory frequency. Now, why do I call it a vibratory frequency? The vibratory frequency is, let's change the vibes that is coming from me. I want to, the energetic flow that's coming out of me is now what's in my energetic space. Because when you change the energetic flow that's coming from you, then you become very particular about who you now bring back into your space. That energetic, that vibratory frequency, now you don't allow those bad vibes to come into your space. Because watch this, when the energy is wrong, the conversation is not long.
Oh my. Oh my.
when the energy is wrong, the conversation is not long. That's because you've done the work. But if you have not done the work, then you're going to stay someplace longer than you need to be.
Oh, wow. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all.
It's not, but people have overstayed it. Let's take the young lady that we just talked to. We're not picking on her, but people have overstayed in situations. I believe it's Antoinette. I'm not picking on you, Antoinette, but people have stayed in situations longer than they needed to be because their mindset was, "I'm going to fix it," or he'll change.
I need a Hammond B3 right there.
And you'll give me a chord. The truth of the matter is, they are not going to change. Listen to this. The only person that you will ever have control over in any relationship is you.
Yes.
The basis of all relationships is self.
Self.
That's the basis of all relationships. And the only person that you will ever have control over in any relationship is self. That's you. So that just tells you right there, you can't change anyone. The only person that you can change is you. And then when you change you might wake up and say, "Oh God, why am I in this situation? Why have I been in this situation for as long as I've been in this situation when it's not going, it's not growing, it's stuck, we're at a standstill, and I deserve so much more."
So when you say you have to do the work, right? So, okay. I mean, this is so powerful. I mean, like we just started, we just ran out the gate full speed. I don't know where we're going to wind up, but I'm telling you those, listen, ladies, whatever questions, this platform, you can be open. It's a safe space. This man, I don't even have to say anything about him because you already hear him and you already see what he's packed with, and he is packed. So when you say to the women, when you say to us, do the work on yourself, are you saying that sometimes you have to go to counseling or therapy? Because sometimes people of color, it's getting better now, got this stigma because this is how we were raised culturally. Sometimes, no, you don't need no therapy. You don't need no counselor. You're going to be all right. So if you tell like those that are in the chat now, you say, do the work. We were talking to Antoinette. She put herself out there. She's a beautiful sister. She's on it. She's seeking. What's do the work?
Do the work is, first of all, you have to take some time to discover what is your fit and quit trying to force something that doesn't fit. So you have to take the time with yourself, by yourself, so that you understand what is your fit. How do you get to the place of understanding your fit? Okay, so what are your deal breakers? Write it down. Write all your deal breakers. I don't want somebody who smokes. I don't want somebody who drinks. I don't want somebody who parties. I don't want somebody who doesn't respect me. I don't want somebody who doesn't understand, who doesn't have integrity. I'm just giving you some examples. Write down what are your deal breakers. And you have to be very, 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 very specific in regards to what are your deal breakers. But then you got to take some time to write down what are your deal makers. I want somebody who treats me like a queen. I want somebody who treats me the way that I deserve to be treated. I want somebody who respects me. If you have children, I want somebody who respects myself as well as my children. I want somebody who respects my home. I want somebody who respects my body, so on and so forth. What are your deal makers? If you want somebody who has a certain type of status in the world, I want somebody who has a job. What type of job do you want them to have? I want somebody, because your words create your world. And the more specific you become, the more you begin to realize that the universe becomes this master choreographer. But sometimes the universe can't bring it to you because you're not ready for it. It's not that they're not out there. Maybe you're not ready for it. And if they came too soon, timing is everything. If they came too soon, you wouldn't be ready to handle it. So put yourself in a position, as we are saying, start doing the work. Now, here's another thing that I think is extremely important. I think that you have to look at dating in terms of really what it is. Take the 5 stages to dating.
That's good. Segue right into that. Yes.
Take the 5 stages to dating, because that is so important. Because when you meet someone and I say to you, hey, let me take you out tonight. you go home and say, "Oh, I got a date tonight." No, 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 no. I just met you. How can that be a date that you're going out with somebody that you don't know? It's not. Why don't you say, "Let's meet for coffee"?
Yep.
Because here's the deal. If I take you out on a date tonight, I just spent some money on you. You know that there's some expectations in a lot of cases that you're going to feel like maybe there's some expectations that he wants. And I'm going to maybe feel like there's some expectations that I feel like I put myself in a position to receive. So let's eradicate those expectations from the gate. Let's first of all see if it's a fit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a meet and greet. Mm-hmm. If you want to go out with me tonight, okay, we can go somewhere very public and we can do a meet and greet.
Can I stop you right there? You know, something just came up the other day on YouTube. It was a conversation and a statement was made and people started to repeat it. And it was, women that go out on dates at night with men need to understand that when they date at night, there's one thing that the man is wanting and looking for, because that's kind of a signal that it's a night date and you're going out with me at night. And a man who spends money, pays the bill, takes you to fine dining, his expectation 9 times out of 10 is that you're going home with me. Now, some people had some pushback with that and some people agreed. And I'm only stopping you with your first point because it triggered what I just heard on the platforms just last week. So is that true? Because I do believe that the dating should be dessert, a daytime coffee or something, because it's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different mindset. So what are your thoughts?
Well, we've you know, in my era, we were raised to believe that the freaks come out at night.
Wait, okay, you're right. And there's a song, and it was a hit.
So if we were raised to believe that the freaks come out at night, so if we're gonna do something at night, then maybe that what we call that freakish side of us is, you know, it's been laying dormant, but maybe it's ready to come out or come out. So my point is, some men may have that expectation and other men may not, but why put yourself out there if you don't have to try to decipher or to determine what is their expectation? Keep the playing field level where you keep the control so that you can control your dating climate. Mm-hmm. So therefore you say, okay, hey, how about we just meet for coffee tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Or how about we meet for coffee Saturday? I don't know what day, but why do I say that? Because I think that the first stage should be a meet and greet. Why? Because the purpose of that meet and greet is to determine, one, is there enough chemistry?
Yeah.
Is there some commonality? Is there any type of conversation that has a flow? Mm-hmm. And the ultimate is you want to determine, is there a connection? Mm. I don't build relationships off of chemistry. I know so many people, oh my God, we have so much chemistry. I don't build relationships off of chemistry, because you can have chemistry with multiple people. And the reality is, how many times have you heard somebody say, oh my God, we had so much chemistry. We have so much. You can have chemistry. Chemistry is something that you can have with multiple people. But here's what you're not going to have. You're not going to have a connection with everybody.
True.
So how many times have you heard somebody say, oh my God, we had such a connection?
Right.
So you want to try to find that connection. Then if you find the connection, then chemistry can become a byproduct of having the connection. So in this first stage, it's all about the C's. It's all about discovering the C's. You want to determine if it even warrants a date. It's just a meet and greet. It may not even warrant a date. And for some people, that may take a couple of meetings. It may take a couple of let's meet for coffees, you know, because you want to determine if this is the particular person that you want to bring into your space. And but what needs to happen in this stage is you got to be yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
To thine own self, be true. Women have the tendencies, and a lot of times, to comply to what they think the male wants.
Yeah.
Be yourself, be your true self. And if he can't take you for who you really are, then that's going to be a project moving forward, which could eventually turn into a problem. If we want to go out in the middle of the day, we will. If he lets people convince him, that means I don't want him. That's on him. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Princessa. Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Thanks for the comment. Mm-hmm.
But also too, Sheila, I also want, people always ask me, well, what type of questions should I ask during the meet and greet? Because the meet and greet is really an interview. It's an interview process. It's an like when, let's say you're the CEO of a company and you're looking to hire someone to fill a position, right? You already know what you need in order to fill that position. So you've already created a job description.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the questions that you're asking are questions to determine if this candidate is qualified to fulfill the position based off of your job description.
Absolutely.
Now, if they're not qualified, you may say, hey, I think you're a great candidate. It's just that what we're looking for, we're going to go we're going to keep looking because I think that you have great qualities, but not everything that we're looking for this position. Doesn't make them a bad person.
Absolutely.
They're just not what you're looking for that position. Well, you're the CEO of your world. So you should have a job description based off of what you want, and you should know how to ask those questions based off of your job description that you have put together for that position.
Yes. Bravo to that.
Right? So people always say, well, what kind of questions should I ask? One of the first questions that I will ask anyone is, what makes you unique? I layer these questions.
Do people get stuck on that one?
Well, initially, I never thought about it like that. But as they think about it, what you want to do is you're layering it, because once they start talking about themselves, people love to talk about them. And the more they talk, the more it's going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask that, what makes you unique, this can transition you into a very, very nice discussion. Because you remember, you want to lay this. You want to layer this. Then as the discussion is now starting, if there's some flow to it, you come back and you say, what does a typical day look like for you?
Good question.
Old school is, what do you do? Well, I don't want to know what you do, because that's going to come out. What does a typical day look like for you? Because this question can give you what I call a much broader and better answer. And you'll begin to learn far more about that person than just asking them, what's your job? What do you do for a living?
That is true. That is true.
And then this question will let you find out, one, if they're an early riser, might not fit into your scheme. Two, how do they spend their free time? Three, you don't need to ask them about their career, because it usually comes up naturally. It will begin to just let you flow with who they are, so you can really see through them to get to them.
That's it. That's powerful right there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can we keep going?
Yeah, keep it moving.
Okay. So we've already asked, how do you what does a typical day look like for you? Then I think another question that I'll ask is, how do you typically spend your weekends? Now I need to find out, are they a partier? Without asking them, how do you typically spend your weekends? This helps you to find out about their interests, their priorities, and how they like to socialize.
Right. Absolutely. This is good. This is so rich, because you get everything in that little meet and greet,
You're just layering it, because remember, you've done the work. So you need to see if this is a fit for you.
Right, because you come to the table already, have done the work on yourself.
The work.
Absolutely.
Time is our biggest commodity, and we do not have time to be wasting. So once we waste time, we can't get it back. So I'm helping you to cut across the grain, so therefore you don't waste a lot of time.
Yes.
Because that question right there is important to know in deciding if you're compatible or not.
Absolutely.
another question is, what does your ideal relationship look like? Maybe their ideal relationship doesn't look like yours.
These are some awesome. I mean, it may not even be a second meet and greet or date. Based everything you need comes out on this quick little coffee or
Just a little
whatever.
meet and greet.
Just a little meet and greet. It come everything. You walk away packed. I mean, that person, you met them, you know them. You walk away with, and you both know it, like you said, because if the chemistry is one thing, but the connection, is there a connection? That is awesome. All of this is so powerful.
I think that if people understood these, these concepts, it would help them to not waste as much time. And it helped them cut across the grain a lot faster, and to determining what becomes their fit. So ladies, if you're listening to me, I think the first thing that I would tell you to do is go find out, if you don't know, what's your fit. Do the work. What are your deal breakers? What are your deal makers? And what are your absolute non-negotiables? Don't ask these questions, though, in the meet and greet like you're interrogating them. Let it flow in the conversation. Just let it flow. Because if it comes across like it's an interrogation, then the other person's going to be on the defense. But just be comfortable in who you are, be confident in who you are, and just let it flow.
Yeah. Facebook, we didn't forget you. I see you. Dawn says, this is good stuff. You are helping the people tonight. Bravo. I'm telling you, we have Facebook here. The women are talking, everything. I told you, this is so needed, and I trust you, right? I would never put anybody on this platform, to the women that embrace the platform, if I didn't trust you. I trust you. And so I want you to keep it moving. Let's see what okay, Jeanette Kendrick, she sees it. Yes. And so keep moving. I know there's a few things. Let's shift a little bit and come back to this. Let's shift to dating apps. Let's shift to the populated women. It's the new thing. It's like the organic meeting people, like of days. It seems like it's days of old, right? And so a lot of times now they'll say, well, get with the program. Everybody's on a dating app, right? And there's nothing wrong with a dating app. It's just that it's so much trash mixed into the gems, right? It's so much the catfishing, the sending 100 pictures that's not even who they are. I go through that every day in my IG. I look at my DMs and all these pictures. Today I just opened up my IG, and I see the same guy that tried to talk to me last month with a different name and more different pictures, but it's him. It's like, so the dating apps, and for people who are single, we're going to get to the married couples in a minute, but for the single woman who have not dated in a long time for so many reasons, right? How do women work around, and do you believe in dating apps? Like for me, I put myself out there because I'm transparent. Okay. I know my daughter says to me, well, Mom, I remember she moved to LA and all she was doing was working. And she's like, oh, I'm on a dating app. I was like, no, you can't be on a dating app. She said, what are you talking about, Ma? This is what's going on today. I said, but you don't know these men. You don't know these people. She said, Ma, it's a way that you do it. You don't go to dinner. You go to breakfast, or you go to have dessert. You don't, she's telling me, she says, so it's a way. I said, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do all that stuff. She said, well, then you're going to be by yourself forever. I said, what are you saying? She said, because organically, she said, what about if you walked in the supermarket and you met somebody that walking down the aisle buying some bread? You don't know him. She said, so you have to get out of the mindset. I said, but I like, and I says, well, I haven't dated. And here goes the big boom, drop the mic. I haven't dated in 14 years. I haven't been on a date in 14 years. I know y'all saying, what? Yes, in 14. She's like, so when are you going to change that? And I'm the one to always say, do something different, do something you never done before. When nothing changes, nothing changes. But for me, in my comfort zone, when you're alone as a single woman in your home and doing your own thing, you get in your set ways, then I'm not vulnerable. I'm like, oh no, the fear. And so she puts me on a dating app. And I'm like, no, give me your phone. She says, wait, let's go take some new pictures. I said, I got to take new pictures. She says, yeah, you can't put these up. So I take the pictures and she puts it up. I was like, oh my God. I'm frantic. And all of a sudden, bing, 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 all these men started. I said, I don't know how to do this. She said, you're choosing them. She put me on an app where they can't choose me. I choose them. Well, I tried to do this, Reggie. I really, really tried. I'm telling you, I really tried. And it didn't work out for me, right? They were creeps. They said stuff. They were only looking for one thing. It's like, it's just too much. So how does a woman who is single and been single, whether it's 2 years, 8 years, 5 years, work around dating because everything is a dating app? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think we are in some would call it a very difficult time in history right now, because we will never be able to go back and find how it used to be. The way that it used to be is not how it is now, and I'm not sure that it will ever go back to that. So I think that there has to be strategies to deal with what we call this modern day dilemma in terms of the dating sites and the dating apps. Do I believe that there can be something good that can come out of dating sites? Sure, I do. I believe that something good can come out of anything. It's how we approach it. It's how we strategize and set up for it.
Yeah.
So I think that dating sites are now here to stay. They're not going anywhere. We're not meeting people the way that we used to.
Yeah.
And particularly in 2020, when people became isolated.
Yeah.
People were enclosed. And then after we came out of the isolation and being enclosed, we still had a bunch of hesitation.
Yeah.
So we were still operating with what I call trepidation because of that isolation. So now we're hesitant in regards to who we even want to bring, into our space.
That's a good point.
So I think that one of the things that we started off with, we created a strategy with the meet and greet. We created a strategy, but we also created a way to kind of get through some of the nonsense so that we don't have to stay in it any longer than we need to.
Yeah. And I'm not negative about dating apps because I've seen success. I know people that have found their husbands, have found long-term relationships. My daughter, the one I'm telling you about, my youngest daughter, I met her house in November of 2020 or 19. I go there every November for my birthday, and we're sitting on the bed watching a movie, and she says, I gotta go. I said, what do you mean? Where are you going? She said, somebody just pinged me on the dating app. I said, so you're leaving me? So I said, no, go ahead. Well, this man is her husband now. A jewel of a man. They were together that night and forever until this day. They have a son. They have a home now. It's beautiful, right? And I mean, you definitely can find, there are jewels within that. I guess you just have to be cut out and have the patience to deal with it and go through the process.
Let's shift and go a different direction, even with what you're talking about, because I'm still old school in regards to ladies, really, you shouldn't be looking for him anyway. He should find you.
I knew you was going to go there.
And here's the deal. Once he finds you, there are three things that need to happen on your end, though. He should find you, but you should be ready. You should know how to recognize, and you should know how to receive. Now, understand that if he finds you, being ready means that you've done the work. You're not coming in with a bunch of baggage. You're not coming in with a bunch of nonsense, because you've done the work. So now if he comes in with the opposite, you already know you're not going to allow him to come into your space anyway, because it's
Yeah.
nonsense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you got to be ready, but you also got to know how to recognize. Now here, recognition is very important, because remember, not only have you created your non-negotiables, your deal breakers, your deal makers, you should know what he looks like, what he walks like, what he talks like, what he feels like, what he smells like. You should have already created him in your mind. Now, my thrust is dating from an expanded conscious perspective.
Go there.
People always ask me, what does dating from an expanded conscious perspective look like, and what does it mean? Here's what it means. It means that I am empowering you to take your focus off of what's missing, because whatever you think about, that's what you bring about. And so now I am empowering you to take your focus off of what's missing. What's missing is I don't have a husband. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a fiance. I don't have a wife, blah, blah, blah. Because now the more you keep thinking and talking about it, the more it expands.
Wow.
So now if we change that narrative and we begin to focus on what we intend to create,
yes,
now it becomes intentional, and wherever your energy goes, that's how your attention flows. So now we shift that and we become intentional with our attention.
Wow. Yeah.
So with this attention, it's now what you intend.
What you intend. Yes.
To create. So now you know what he looks like, you know what he walks like, because you're creating this person in your mind. It's expanding, because whatever we think about, that's what we bring about. It's expanding. It's expanding because I know how I want him to look. I know how I want him to talk. I know how I want him to walk. I know how I want him to dress. I know how I want him to feel. I know how I want him to smell. And so that's the recognition of it, because you have been there before. So when you guys finally meet, the recognition now becomes like it's a, damn, this is like a deja vu.
Yes, yes.
I have been here before.
Yes.
And then when you start asking him those questions, his answers is blowing your mind, because you have been here before. And if it doesn't fit into what you believe he's supposed to look like, feel like, walk like, I know you say I'm lonely, but you got to get to the place of being alone but not lonely.
That's it. That's so important, Reggie, to be able to be alone and sit with yourself, to be able to be in your own space and enjoy yourself, to enjoy what God has placed in you, your creativities, your peace, you're knowing you're knowing your needs and your wants, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. Knowing you is one of the best gifts that you can give yourself. And you have to sit still sometime, and you have to sit in it, meaning sit in you. Fine, go somewhere and sit in that corner, sit in you and deal with you. Like you said, to deal with you. You know, and a lot of times we like the strengths, but we don't want to talk about the weaknesses, right? Oh, I'm this. And anytime you ask somebody, oh, what do you like? And this, they can get ripped off. I'm this, I'm strong in this, I'm strong in that. It's like when you go get a job and you're interviewing, and I know I've had a company. So the question is, so what is your weakness? And then a person will get, they can't riff off the weaknesses because either they haven't faced them, embraced them, worked on them, right? So then right away, you realize there's an imbalance. So I love what you said, because being alone is not being lonely. Like I'm alone, I live alone, but I'm not lonely, right? I'm not lonely because I haven't dated in 14 years. I mean, it's something, of course, as a woman, I would like to do, but listen, it is what it is. So you just don't go spread yourself thin or just settle for anything. That's not who I am. So you find a place within yourself to bring that joy, bring everything to you, and get ready for when that thing happens. And you're right. When you say, words are powerful, because sometimes it'll just come out. Well, I guess I'm never going to date. My daughter was, well, I guess you won't. You putting it out there.
Putting it out there.
She'll just check me. I guess you won't, Ma. I was like, well, she said, I know. I guess you won't. And I was like, you're right. You're right. Right. So That's so important, being alone and not being lonely. But some women, because of what they've gone through, some women, because of relationships they've come from, right? They haven't dealt with a lot of the things that press them. I know with this COVID and being this pandemic, the domestic violence rate has gone up so high because people that are married or people who were living together never ever had to be in each other's presence like this. And they were
And
like passing ships in the night. And then now they're stuck and they found out, I don't
they
really
found
like
they
him.
found they found out, were they a couple, or
Whoa,
or were they in a crisis?
there you go. There you go.
Were
There you
they in
go.
were they a couple, or were they in a crisis? That's what they discovered.
Yes.
During that. Also, Sheila, I wanted to say to your to the ladies who are listening.
Yes.
Sometimes you are alone because you have narrow parameters, and having narrow parameters is a beautiful thing, because that just simply means you refuse to let any mess into your space.
Take care, Princessa. Thanks for being here. Uh-huh. Go ahead, sir.
So if you do have those narrow parameters, that just simply means you refuse to let anybody that's coming into your space with nonsense, and you have now determined and made up in your mind that if they can't come correct, then they don't need to come at all. Beautiful.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're positioning yourself for the
Mm-hmm.
right person that needs to be in your space.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're positioning yourself, because if somebody that's in your space that don't need to be in your space, then they're just taking up space that they shouldn't be taking up in your life.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Facebook. Let's go to Facebook. My daughter Pache is on. She's usually my co-host on
Okay.
Relationship Tuesday. She's not feeling well tonight, but she just tapped on. She said she's like in church with you. She said, "Come on," with exclamation. And she says she dates herself. She said, "Yes, date yourself first. Date yourself." And then she said, "Peace over everything." And she said, "Yes, come correct or don't come at all." And it's
Love it.
so many, yes, yes.
Love
And
it.
we have a gentleman on, Kelvin Gathers. Thank you for being here. Tashana Pay says, "I don't trust dating apps. My luck, I'll meet the crazy one." Yes. Yes, yes. Carry on. Carry on.
And the question you would have to ask yourself too is, if you would you date you?
Ooh, wait a minute. I need the Hammond B3. I told you. I got to get me a machine to hit the Hammond B3 right there. Dun-dun. Oh, my goodness.
would
Will
you
you
would
date
would you
yourself?
date you? Because if you got a bad relationship with you certainly gonna have a bad
Oh, my
relationship
God.
with somebody else. If you
Wait a
don't have
minute.
a good relationship with yourself, how can you have a good relationship with somebody else?
Wait a minute, Reggie. Wait a minute. You said if you have a bad relationship with yourself, how you going to date somebody else?
If you don't love you, how you expect somebody else to love you, and you don't even love yourself? So, would you date you?
Well, here's your girl Antoinette. She said, "I absolutely would date me. I'm the bomb."
I love it. You are the bomb. I love it. And see, that's the kind of conversation you have to
Yeah.
talk to. You have to talk to yourself and tell yourself, I am beautiful. I am special. I am wonderful. I am kind. Talk and have those conversations with yourself and tell yourself that, because
Yes.
it gets into your subconscious, and then in your conscious, you begin to walk out in it, and you become exactly that.
Yes. This is so good and rich tonight. Bravo to this conversation. Bravo to you, C. Reggie Rodgers. Let's talk about.
Hold on, Sheila. I wanted to get to that last R. We was on
Oh,
that.
get.
We was
Oh,
on
do
that
you?
we was on that
You
recognition.
was
Be
on the
ready,
reckoning. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Go.
recognize, be
Go,
ready,
go.
recognize, and that last R was receive.
Mm,
Receive. That's
okay.
because that's where a lot of us miss it, because we don't know how to receive. In particular, women, we don't know how to receive because of the fact they've had so many bad men, that when it's a good man, they don't know how to receive a good man because of all the bad men.
That's big.
That's why it's so important. Do the work.
Do the work.
Those are three R's, but there are two R's that will nullify those three R's. And those two R's that will nullify those three R's are what I call rebound dating.
Mm,
Rebound dating is it's like it's a temporary fix.
temporary fix. Wow.
It's an emotional it's an emotional, it's an emotional date, or it's an emotional experience, which is typically short term and short lived because you're trying to take someone to get over someone else. So it's a temporary fix. It's a band aid.
It's a big band-aid. My God. Wow.
Rebound dating will nullify those three. And I've got another order. I can't. I actually went blank.
It'll come back.
It'll come back on the last one, but that'll also nullify those three R's as well.
Rebound dating. That's huge. I mean, I've seen that happen over and over and over and over and over, and that's real popular now. In terms of dating, and when the relationship doesn't work, they start dating a new person like the next week or two, saying, what are they waiting for? That relationship is over. I hear that all the time. And the new I don't know if we can call them the modern day woman, as the men in manospheres are talking about, the modern day woman, where women have a relationship, doesn't work. Next thing you know, in a week or two, they have a new boo. And I mean, they together. They're not dating, they're together. They done skipped all, on the Monopoly board. They done skip Go. They done skip Boardwalk. They're gone. And so what happens, I think, with that is the emotional, part of a woman is what happens to healing or reassessing, or is that what you call as part of rebound dating? I mean, even in the rap world, and the world today is, like you said, is so different. It probably will never be this like it was, days of old, or even just 10 years ago. People break up and they're dating, and not just dating, they're sleeping with the person the next week, and they're living with them and move. And I mean, no judgment, because this is the no judgment zone, but these are facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rebound dating, is that even a part of rebound? Has that changed the definition?
Rebound dating is, again, is short lived. It's using someone else to get over someone.
Yeah, that's what Pache just said. I think she said they one honor their feelings and mourn the relationship and then move on. So is there a mourning process that women should go through when they break up with someone, even a marriage? Well, I know marriage is different in a sense, but it's still emotional. Should there be a mourning process? Because I've seen women, husbands pass away, and they move on within the next 6-7 months. I don't know if that was an agreement with their spouse, or I just think there's a mourning. There has to be some type of reassessment internally.
Well, they say that you should take a year, especially if it's a marriage, as you're saying, when it's a marriage that two people have been together for a length of time. They say that once you're able to get through every major holiday and not have those feelings, and you feel good about yourself now going through those holidays, then
That's good.
you're ready to go back out. So they say that you should at least take a year and determine if you can get through all those major holidays.
That's a good measuring point. The holidays, because the holidays tell you.
Oh, they
tell you
bring up
everything.
all those old memories.
Yeah, my mama used to tell us when we were little, if your man is not with you on the weekend, he's not your man. If your man is not with you on holidays, he's not your man.
I taped a show earlier. I taped a show with Buddy Lewis, the comedian and actor Buddy Lewis. And so we have a new show coming out. Be prepared. It's called the Coach and the Comic. But Buddy was saying earlier, the show's going to air after Valentine's, and Buddy was saying, if your man wasn't with you on Valentine's, he's not your Valentine's.
That sounds like my mama.
He said, listen, I don't care if he was with you post-Valentine's.
Yeah, that's it.
Pre-Valentine's. But if he wasn't with you on Valentine's,
exactly.
He ain't your Valentine's.
You know how your mom give you pointers like when you're younger? My mom is gone now, but there's certain things, Jules, that she dropped on us. We'd be a group of girls of us in the room just hanging out talking, and she'd be in there and she was have us hanging up curtains and stuff. She said, well, let me tell you something. If your man is not with you, see, why y'all all stuck up in this room? If your boyfriend is not with you on the holidays, he's not your man. If your boyfriend is not with you on Christmas, Christmas and he don't belong to you. And I mean, it made so much sense. She said, he's somewhere else. You're not the special one.
If he doesn't find you to be a priority, that means you're not special. And the other R that I couldn't think of is return dating, rebound dating, and return dating.
Okay, talk about it.
Return dating is when you go back to what you were comfortable with. You go back to somebody that you left, somebody that you've been with before. That's return dating. But you go back because there's a sense of familiarity and there's a sense of comfortability. But what you begin to do is you want to be comfortable and not accountable. So you go back to returning, but how quickly you forgot why you guys aren't together anymore. That's why you left him, because there was an issue, but you returned back to something that you had a problem with before. So you just create a bigger problem. And so it's what I call return dating. Return dating messes up the being ready, the being able to recognize, and to being able to receive.
Because it takes you steps back. It takes you backwards. It takes you backwards. Someone in the comments on Facebook is saying, as an example, they said, what about Common and Tiffany Haddish?
I don't know the story. Tell me what happened.
Well, you know, they were dating. Allegedly, you know, you got to say allegedly on YouTube. They were dating, and I don't know totally what happened, but I know that they broke up, and he broke her heart, and she was going back and forth in her self-esteem, and she's kind of off right now after they broke up. So people think that relationship kind of did something to her internally, because her behavior is a little different allegedly in terms of drinking and whatever, but she thought he was the one. But through the news, as you read on the stories, it was saying that it was more her trying to make the relationship work than him. And so she was trying to make something more than what it was. And people, her friends, was saying things to her allegedly that, you know, this is not going, he's you know, Common has a lot of girls, this, that, and the other. And so, you know, that has a lot to do with what you're talking about, lowering your standards and trying to, if you're not fixed.
Women give so much of themselves in a relationship. And
she thought it was real. She said she thought it was real. So it was an illusion then.
The truth of the matter is women give so much of themselves in a relationship because women are emotionally driven and men are ego driven. So when women give so much of them, that's why it's sad to say, but when a woman marries a man, the man doesn't take the woman's last name. The woman takes the man's last name, because the woman ends up giving so much of herself to the man, right? And so when you look at the situation, when women give so much of themselves, when the breakup happens, it's a lot of times it's the woman who is more damaged than the man, because she's given so much of herself. And every time she gets into a relationship, she's giving so much of herself because she's emotionally driven. Wow. Yeah. The man is ego driven. So that's why it's a lot harder. And the woman now has to go back and try to figure out where she left. She got to find her pieces again to put it back together.
Right. And Tashana said this relationship really, and it did blossom during the pandemic. So they were locked in the house together, Common and Tiffany Haddish, allegedly. And that's where they kind of bonded. But it was during the pandemic, which brings a whole nother element to the beginning of a relationship, as you mentioned earlier. Right? I mean, it's not going out. It's, you know, I'm dating you now. We're stuck in here together. No one's going anywhere. So how do you mesh together? No trial and error. We're just in here, and you skip over everything. And it becomes this emotional love thing, right? Because women, you know, we're emotionally tapped to the highest when it comes to love, right? So now, you know, we just have to pray for Tiffany. Let's see what this woman says here. Let's see what this comment says right here, Reggie. I kept my last name. I guess that's why we divorced. Antoinette says, I have moonwalked enough in my life, so she ain't going backwards no more. Yes. Go ahead, continue, Reg.
Where were we? What were we?
The last R. So we talked about, you gave Did you get the 3 R's out, or you got 2
Yeah,
out of the 3?
we got the 3. It was be ready, know how to recognize, and know how to receive. Those
Yes.
were the 3. And then the 2 that we said that would nullify those 3 would be rebound dating and return dating.
Yes, yes. And so when you're talking now, because you're a believer, I'm a believer. There are a lot of believers on here, and there are a lot of believers that are not believers on here. And there are many people that are going to see this after the fact. And I know the criteria for dating in terms of being a believer is somewhat different than people who are not believers. And what do you say about that?
Well, here's what I believe. I believe that people should be open-minded, and I know that
Mm-hmm.
the criteria, quote unquote, for believers is that
Mm-hmm.
unequally
Yeah.
yoked.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that has categorized and put you in this little small space. I think that you have to determine. I think that you
Yeah.
have to determine what becomes your fit. This is what we talked about earlier. That's what we've been saying throughout this whole show.
Yes.
Is you
Yes.
have to determine what is your fit.
Yes.
And once you
Yes.
determine what is your fit, then
Yes.
now you also have to determine that you're not going to try to force something that doesn't fit.
Exactly.
You can have 2 believers that believe the same thing, but that doesn't mean it's a fit.
Exactly. That's my point. That a lot of divorce, a lot of broken relationships is from pressure from the church, because they feel, and most churches and denominations feel, that if you're dating to marry. Okay, so okay, that's fine. But suppose you start talking, you're having these moments, you're going out, but the only thing you have in common is Jesus. You
Let's be
have nothing.
truthful. Let's be truthful. Let's be truthful, Sheila. Since you brought this up, the divorce rate in Christendom is higher than secular.
Absolutely.
So if the divorce rate is higher in Christendom than it is in the secular world, then there has to be a deficit. There must be a problem. There must be an issue that has to be addressed. We need to tweak that. We need to shift it, and there has to be some type of balance. Just because 2 people believe or believers don't mean that they are a perfect fit. So now it's up to me. It's up to me to determine what is a fit for Regi Rodgers. It's up to Sheila to determine what is a fit for Sheila. Now, when we go through our process of, meeting and greeting and doing the things that we feel that will warrant, if we even want to date or even go to that next stage, we take it slow. We take it as if, I think that a lot of times in Christianity and the belief process in Christianity is, okay, so we meet someone, now we need to get married.
Yeah.
And so we rush the whole process.
It's pressure.
It's because of the pressure that's applied. Because I think there has to be some modifications there. And I think that now individually you must determine, what are the conversation. Let's start here. Conversation. Because a lot of times people don't have the same conversation. And if we don't have the same conversation, then it doesn't make for a good orchestration. What do I mean? Here's what I mean. The word communication comes from the word communion. Okay. So the word communion, as we know it in this religious sect, means it's something that's sacred. And oftentimes we hear that if you're going to partake of these elements, you must first examine yourselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that means it's something that's sacred. It's something that's worth taking introspection and to really do an assessment of who you really are to determine if this is something that you want to partake of.
Right.
Watch how important it is.
Yes.
So the word communion then comes from 2 words. It comes from common union. So in order to have a thorough conversation with someone who is a potential partner, we have to find out if there is some common union.
Yes.
In a marriage relationship, well, that's why you must examine what you say before you say, because when you say what you say, you can't pull it back. So you might want to figure out, is it even worth saying it? Because once I say it, I can't pull it back.
My God. Let's see what Samantha is saying. She's saying, my church pressured me. That was the worst decision I made at 23 years of age. See what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. How many women, young, old, middle, it doesn't matter the age. It's the expectation and the rules and regulations of the church that's not the heart of God in terms of pressure, in terms of, because, oh, you're going to marry that boy. Why? For people to see or for image. And then you get so wounded. That's going to be a whole nother conversation I'm going to invite you to talk with me about, is church hurt. I've been pushing it back because I haven't found the right people to sit with me, because I don't want to bash the church. I don't want to do that, but I do want to bring those that were wounded for whatever reason because of the rigidness and not the balance. It's a balance. Your walk with the Lord has to have balance. And I feel you. I feel you. The sister that just said that, Samantha, pressured her. 23 years old. Listen to what Tashana said. She said the biggest mistake, it becomes the expectation or approval of the church members, aka people. Then Dawn says, because the church doesn't teach these real life marriage building skills, we often hide behind a verse of scripture and leave it there. It's sad because a lot of people, when you look, I've been a believer for 34 years. I've been church hurt, church batted, church this, church that. And so I always teach people, it's not about the building. It's about the relationship. Once you build that one-on-one relationship with your Lord, that's the glue. That's the glue right there. The people it's a hospital. But then when you have leadership and people, when you get in the wrong ministry, and I say wrong because the leadership does not have a balance, and you leave the church more wounded than when you got in the church because of marriage or some other situation, the judgment becomes too much. And I don't know why I went on that, but I had to address that because it's so important when it comes to women, healing, marriage, divorce, dating. All of this is encumbered inside of what we're talking about. Here's Samantha again. Let's see what she's saying. There was no premarital counseling. On top of that, I had no idea what marriage was other than when you get married, you stay married. Oh, we need a whole nother show for this. That's a whole.
I think once you let's go here and then we can have another conversation at another time about this. But I think once you understand what you're saying, you're using the word church. The word church comes from the word ecclesia.
Ecclesia, yes.
Which means to be called out from.
Yes.
Right. So if I'm called out from, does that necessarily mean that I have to be in these four walls?
The church is in you.
It just means that I'm called out from doing what everybody else is doing. I'm called out from understanding me and my individuality and who he made me to be and what I am becoming, because we are all in a state of evolving. We're all in a state of becoming.
Yes.
So since we're always evolving and we're always becoming, so now I have been called out to really determine who I really am I really am becoming. And the only way that I'm going to get that instruction of who I really am and who I am becoming is I have to have that personal relationship with the God that I serve.
Yes.
And I cannot now focus on everybody else's chatter. Because if you focus on everybody else's chatter, you're going to always be in a deficit. So just know that you have been called out to be exclusively you, and nobody can beat you being you. That's why you have to be in love with you.
Preach. Heal. That's some healing right there. Straight up healing right there. And we're going to address that. You and I have a sidebar talk. Let's see. Annette said jewels have definitely been dropped this evening. Thank you both. Absolutely love this conversation. Good night, all. Love you too. She's a teacher. She's probably going to do what she needs to do. Let's transition a little bit before I let you go. I want to talk about the widow. I want to talk about when you've lost your husband. When I became a widow at the age of 17. My husband was murdered the day my second daughter was born, Pache, the one, my co-host. And so I was young, had been married 4 months, and I was young, but nevertheless, it was a traumatic experience. And I mean, imagine from 17, that set the pace of my life, right? And I know I have a cousin who was very, very close, very, very close to her husband. And he recently passed away from being ill. And I know she still struggles. And there's so many other women that don't know how to get out of, I don't want to call it a rut, but they don't know how to transition and let the person go and then find someone else or be open to find someone else. What is your thoughts about a woman who has lost their loved one, their husband, their mate, their spouse, and they don't know how to get back into life in terms of receiving someone in their lives?
So you used the word, you said you didn't want to call it a rut, but a rut is the root word for routine. So what happens is you create this routine that allows you to get into that rut because of the routine that you've created. So if it's something that you really want to do,
well, she's on here. I'm sorry. She's actually listening. Okay. She said it's hard. She's on Facebook. Go ahead.
So if it's something that you really want to do, then you might want to start doing little things that help you to change your routine. If you wake up at 10 a.m., wake up at 8 a.m. Just start doing some little things that change your routine. If you don't go to the gym, maybe go to the gym. Do some things that's going to change your routine. If you don't typically like to go for a walk in the evening, take it up on yourself and go walk in the evening. Because when you change your routine, you put yourself in different places that you ordinarily wouldn't be in, and you start meeting people that you ordinarily wouldn't meet.
Okay.
So who knows what can come out of the meet and the greet because you've changed your routine. It's just little things, you know. You don't have to plunge into it. Take baby steps and start changing your routine so you can slowly but surely just get out of that rut.
That makes sense. Because now your behavior and your whole pattern of things, your life cycle begins to switch off into a different rotation.
It's changing. You're changing. You know, that's that whole, they say insanity. Insanity is you want something different, but you keep doing the same thing over
and over. Tony says, okay, that's good stuff. Yeah. You know, and see, I was younger when my husband, I don't like to say died, he was murdered, you know, to call it what it is. And her husband, she was with him for a lot of years since they were young. I mean, when you see him, you see her. When you see her, you see him, you know, and it's been rough for her, you know, and I understand it because they became such a soul tie.
Yeah,
a positive soul tie. You know, you know those soul ties could go left or right, but hers was a very positive soul tie. And I often think about her like, Lord, help her move forward. Help her, because he would want her to. It's just that, you know, women, you know, and it's hard today. Like I said, it's so hard. The choices, like you said, a man, the Bible says, you know, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, right? But again, the time, the season, everything has changed in our world, you know, but I think that's some good advice for those that, not just her, but those who have lost their spouse, to be able to get up and intentionally do something different. Like, don't just wake up and on purpose, push yourself on purpose.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. I know this is so good. Oh my God. I know we can't talk about everything in one sitting. So I'm going to talk a couple more things and then I'm going to let you go. Let's talk about divorce. Let's talk a little bit about divorce. Divorce is a death, right? Divorce can affect people as a death, because something has died within your life, and it's hard to sometimes. Now, if it's a marriage that was abusive, or not healthy, then it's a different type of healing, I think, that comes, because it's kind of more like a freedom when you can get out of something that had you in bondage, or. But if it was something that just transpired between two people that outgrew each other, or just you started changing what you needed, divorce is hard, because then after the fact, how do you, the stigma, there's always a stigma on people who have been divorced. I mean, for me, I've been divorced and I'm free, right? But while I was going through it, it was an eerie kind of feeling. It was the thoughts of that were going on in other, especially in the church, right? It was this thing, and you have to get free from it. You have to break away from the thoughts of other people. I always say, turn the voices off. But what do you say to a woman who is about to get divorced, or who is divorced and are having a hard time being single again?
So the word divorce comes from die means two, vorce means ways. So it's just two people going two different ways. And I think that if you break that down to understand that, okay, we're no longer on the same page, we're going two different ways, then when you really start to factor that equation in, if we're not going the same direction, life is too short. So I don't want to stay in something where there's no harmony, nor do I want to stay in something that if we can't have in harmony, we're not going to have peace.
Yes.
So life is too short not to have the peace of mind that you so rightly deserve. So
Yes.
if we're going two ways, then I guess for me, then I need to determine what way am I going? Because every person has to ask themselves three questions: where am I going? How am I going to get there? First, then they have to ask themselves, who am I? Where am I going? And how am I going to get there? Who am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there? Okay, so now I have to determine the way that I'm going. Once I determine the way that I'm going, that means I must be evolving, because that must means that I've evolved into something that I wasn't. That's why we're going two different ways.
Yeah.
So now, who am I?
Who am I now?
Where am I going?
Yeah.
And how am I going to get there? I think that if you take the time to really assess that and do the homework on that, it can create a little bit of a peace in regards to what it is that you're going through, because divorce is extremely hard. When you've been with somebody for a long time, and then just all of a sudden you guys evolved, you're just not on the same page anymore, then you have to start having those real conversations with yourself.
And you have to get rid of, I know some women deal with the guilt, because I've known women who have gotten divorced or getting divorced and been with someone for a lot of years. And now the best years of their life they've given to this person. They're in their 40s and 50s now. That can create a bitter woman. That can create, I mean, if it's something where they were divorced, like the man divorced them and they, found somebody younger, because we have different scenarios. And now they're older and they become bitter. That's that's a lot of work at that point that they have to deal with themselves and do with themselves, because that bitterness can take root, because they feel, I've given you my best years. How can you switch?
But the truth of the matter, those weren't your best years. Those were your good years. Your best years are still yet to come, because now that you've gotten older, you've not really gotten older. You've become more seasoned.
But it's the mindset, though.
That's why I'm trying to tell you, if you become more seasoned, you have to really you have to really talk to yourself and tell yourself the best is still yet to come. Yes. I gave him some good years, but the best is still yet to come, because there's so much more there's so much more in store that I can still yet learn about me. That's why, who am I? Where am I going? How am I going to get there?
Absolutely. Those are the things you got to repeat in your head. Push the play button and rewind and rewind. You have to talk to yourself. You have to push it down in your spirit, in your heart, so that you're not sidetracked by those thoughts that the enemy will put in your head. You're too old and nobody wants you. You got to cast down those imaginations, because it's all up here. If you don't know who you are really, 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 and you haven't done the work, right? It's this process. We're talking about that process that women have to get to, because it doesn't happen overnight.
And let's take the enemy out of the equation, because one of the things that you don't hear me, the enemy can't make me do nothing. And
True.
I don't say that to be big, bad, or bold. I'm saying, if I did it, it's because I wanted to.
Yeah, you got to take ownership.
It's because I did it. It's because I wanted to, not because he can't make me do anything.
Right.
And one of the things that we always hear, the devil is a liar. But as soon as he says something, you believe it.
Yeah, but it's the mindset, Reg. I know mind.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's the mindset that we've been brought up to believe.
True.
So if you change that mindset,
absolutely,
and you change that narrative and you flip that script, then that'll change the whole situation. Because, let's take the enemy out of the equation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sidebar.
Yeah.
Tony, she's my cousin, the one I tell you that lost her husband. She has a question.
Okay.
What about Facebook? What about a couple who's been separated for 9 years, but because they are both ministers, they refuse to discuss divorce? They've been separated for 9 years.
Okay. How about when do you feel like you want to return back to living life? Because both of your lives are on hold. Yeah. Why is your lives are on hold? Because you're ministers. So are you saying because the fact that you are ministers, you can't pick your life back up?
I think that's what they're saying.
So you can't pick your life back up and keep it. Jesus said, I've come that you'd have life
and have it,
and not just have life, but have life more abundantly. So here's what he says in the next verse. The thief comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. So what, you're going to let him steal your joy? You're going to let him kill your joy? You're going to let him destroy your joy? Remember, we just said, let's take the enemy out of it. So now you have to start dealing with you for who you are, because watch, greater is he that's in you.
That's right.
Than anything else that's around you.
That's right.
So forget about what the people say.
Forget about what the people say. Because if you separated for 9 years, you have no life anyway.
You're not living life. All you're doing is you're trying to live a life to appease the people because your so-called title as a minister.
And you're already unequally yoked. And that's the script that they like to use, right? You're already unequally yoked. 9 years.
You need to pick it up and
keep it moving.
Move on.
So let's take this and close this. I know I told you it was going to get so good, but let's end it on this. I want you to give some tips for married couples, not just married couples who are struggling, but married couples in general. Let's start out a couple of things for married couples who are struggling. What kind of counsel, if I came in your office with my husband, and I know because you're a relationship coach and you have these degrees and everything, and we're struggling. We don't want a divorce, but we're struggling because we feel like something has shifted, but we don't know what.
Okay.
What do you do with that?
How do we get to that place of now, let's start complimenting each other? Let's make it our business that all that we do, we're going to compliment each other. Mm-hmm. I don't want to compete with you. Mm-hmm. I want to compliment you. Mm-hmm. So if I make it my business, both of us, to compliment each other, I don't mean compliment, baby, you're so fine, baby, you're so pretty. No, I don't want you to take my weaknesses and throw that in my face. I want you to figure out, how do you take your strengths to cover my weaknesses so that my weaknesses aren't shown anymore? And I take my strengths and I cover your weakness, and we complement each other so that we're not competing against each other. Because what happens is when you start throwing my weaknesses in my face, what you're doing is you're competing with me to tell me you're better because you do it differently. I don't want to compete with you. I want us to complement each other. Now, if
Mm,
I put that up here in your conscious mind, and I tell you for the next 2 weeks, you're going to do everything
mm,
that you can do to complement each other. Therefore, you're going to bury each other's weaknesses by hiding the weaknesses with each other's strengths.
mm-hmm,
So my
mm-hmm,
weakness, where I'm weak, you may be strong. And
mm-hmm.
where you're weak, I may be strong, but we're
Yes,
going to cover each other.
yes, absolutely.
Now the focus changes.
Absolutely. That's so powerful because that is like one of the main things as I counsel people. One of the main things that comes to me, well, now via Zoom or whatever, but that is so powerful because that alone sets you free and allows you to be equal to receive each other where you are. The expectation drops, the acceptance goes high, and the expectation
Yes.
goes down, right?
Yes.
Expectation low, acceptance high. And so that's so beautiful. That was said so beautifully. And so I want to give you the last words to talk to my sisters out here and those that are on. We have some guys in Facebook. I don't know who's looking, listening, watching, but I'm telling you, this is good stuff. I'm gonna give you, I want you to say, close the show with something to inspire you. Well, you've been inspiring, but I'm just going to give you the floor. But before you do that, I want you to tell people how to get in touch with you. I did let you guys know that Regi and I are both on the same radio platform, 87.9 Heat FM. I'm on Sunday morning from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the Bravo show, right? And it's international, it goes everywhere, right? And so Regi, tell them when you're on. Also tell them where they can reach you because you're still in Vegas. You live in Vegas, right?
I am in
I,
Vegas.
I have to come visit Vegas. I have to
Yeah,
come.
you gotta
I
you
was
gotta come
close.
in.
Yeah, I
You
was in
gotta come
Go
and
ahead.
hang out. That'd be
I
fun.
do. I was in Arizona 2 months ago. I was right next door to you.
Were you in Phoenix?
Yes.
I love Phoenix. I'm there quite often. In fact, I love Phoenix.
Yes, yes, yes. So let them know how to get in touch with you. Tell them about your new book, your new show that you're
Okay.
doing. Just give them everything right now and your handle where you
Okay.
on IG and everything.
So if you're looking for me on Instagram, you can find me at C Regi Rodgers. That's C space Regi Regi, as you see it right there on the screen. Rodgers Rodgers on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Facebook, again, C space Regi Rodgers. Go to my website too, cregirodgers.com. You can see all my merchandise there, my book. I've got a new book that's going to be coming out here shortly, but my current book that's out is on my website as well. It's called Love at First Spirit. It comes with a book as well as a workbook. So you can get the book as well as the workbook there. And stay tuned. We got a new show coming out called The Coach and the Comic. Buddy Lewis, he writes for Kevin Hart. He writes for DL Huey, Monique. He's an
Okay.
actress. He's an actor, comedian, been on Def Comedy Jam, been on a lot of shows. When you Google him, you know who Buddy Lewis is. So Buddy Lewis and I, it's a great show on dating and relationships. You'll get the serious and you'll also get the funny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called The Coach and the Comedian. And I guess you told me to just kind of give some parting words. I want to give you there's a recipe that I have. It's called Regi's secret
Thank you,
sauce.
Samantha.
It's called Regi's secret sauce to attracting who you want.
Your secret, say that
My
again. I
secret
like that.
sauce, my secret sauce to attracting who you want. It's called Regi's recipe.
Okay. Okay.
Step one is just clean. Clean means do everything possible to clean and unclutter your thoughts so that you can do everything possible to achieve who you desire. So clean.
Mm,
Step two is create. Create the vision of what your male looks like. Bring it into existence.
mm.
Step three, check. Check your mind to make sure it's filled with positive thoughts related to the vision of how your mate looks. Examine to detect the presence of something that does not need to be there. And number four, connect. Bring together or into contact so that a real or notional link can be established. Watch your vision become a reality. Start attracting who you want. Clean plus create plus check equals connect. That's the attract.
Wow. Wow. Bravo to you. I tell you, I knew I was anticipating so much and you delivered. I tell you, we've been talking to get you on here, and I'm so grateful that you stopped your busy schedule to come on and to bless us, and those that will see this after the fact. I know they're gonna say, "When's he coming back?" Don't worry, y'all. Don't worry. Him and I, we're gonna get it together. He's getting real busy, so I'm gonna have to get in his schedule on the calendar.
Let's make it happen, Sheila.
Make it happen. So you guys, thank you so much for being here. Facebook, we love you. Thank you so much, all of you. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the comments, the questions. This was so very rich. And I'm going to sign off. Remember, when nothing changes, and you have to keep it moving. Remember, expectation low, acceptance high. Everything will work out. You got some jewels tonight. Go back on the replay. Listen to it again. Share this broadcast. Share it with your friends. Just push it out there. It's jewels all inside of here. And so we're going to say good night and take care. Reggie, don't move. And I'm going to let you guys go and just, you're so wonderful.